Hello and welcome to this live stream. Hopefully we're live now. If you're in the chat, please say hello. We'd love to hear from you. We're talking about the new Workspace product announcements. Obviously, Google had the Anywhere School this week, taking place last couple of days. And they've announced a whole bunch of new features. So we're looking forward to chatting about them, giving you a quick run through of most of them, pretty much anything we think will be interesting to this audience. I'm Dan Taylor. I'm the founder of Apps Events. I'm based in Europe. And do you want to introduce yourself, James?
Hi, Dan. Thank you. I'm James. I'm based here in Thailand. And I've been working with Apps Events, maybe 7 or 8 years now, Dan, I think?
Yeah, it's been a long time. Obviously, James has a lot of experience as an actual teacher, as a maths teacher. So a lot of direct experience of using Google products in the classroom. So what we're going to go through is the new versions. Now, James, should we just mention at the beginning what the versions of Google Workspace are? It's a bit confusing. Obviously, G Suite is now Google Workspace. You probably know that. But there's a free version and there's 3 paid versions.
Yeah, that's right. So beginning the free version, the classic version that everybody has already is Education Fundamentals. And that version is what is already rolled out to schools. That is not changing. Nothing is changing to paid from that version, just aside from the storage, which is changing next year, which we can talk about later. But the free version is Education Fundamentals. And then if we move up from there, the paid versions, there's actually now 3 paid versions. And there's different versions depending on how much you want to roll out Google within your school. The teaching and learning version features most of the teaching features, such as the breakout rooms, polling, Q&A, all in Google Meet, and of course, the originality reports, unlimited, in Google Classroom. The second paid version is Education Standard. Now, typically, teachers wouldn't be looking at the Education Standard version because it's very much for administrators, Google administrators, to get more controls on what is happening in their domain, and also to look at advanced reports using things like BigQuery and Data Studio to get data out from their domain. Now, the final version, probably the most popular version, is Education Plus. And that's really a combination of the previous 2 versions, the teaching and learning and the Education Standard. Education Plus is really every feature that Google has. And it's really the most advanced version of Google with all of the premium features in one.
Yeah, and something we get asked a lot is why should we choose Education Plus above Teaching and Learning Upgrade? And I think the main reason, you can jump in, James, but I think the main reason is with Teaching and Learning Upgrade, you only pay per teacher. So you say these 10 staff and only these 10 staff have the features. If you pick Education Plus, then all your staff have the Teaching and Learning Upgrade and all your staff have Education Standard. So pretty much, well, basically everything. You have everything there.
Yeah, definitely. And I think if you're a small school with 10, 20, 30 teachers, I think teaching and learning makes sense. It's easy to deploy. You can manage your 20 staff very easily. But as soon as you move into bigger schools, perhaps with middle school, high school, elementary school, or multiple campuses, then it just becomes a lot more difficult to manage those individual licenses, which is why Education Plus is so much easier to handle.
Yeah, exactly. So let's jump straight into it, James. Let's go through the slides, see what was announced. So let's start with Google Classroom. There's a few things in Classroom. Google's going for these 3 themes: easy to use, engaging and inclusive, safe and secure. So they've kind of put them in these categories. So let's take a look at some of the announcements. James, roster import. This one looks really good. I think this is the game changer for Classroom. I think this is what makes it a full LMS or VLE if you're English or British. I think this is really interesting.
Yeah, I think this is huge because this is what every school is asking for. And there are solutions out there that do this already, but there's nothing integrated.
Let's explain what it is first. Let's start with what is this?
Yeah, so roster import is simply you have your database of students, your SIS, SMS, whatever platform you're using. It could be iSAMS, it could be PowerSchool, whatever platform you have. But you want to be able to create student accounts and add them to classrooms based upon your student roster within your database. Now, currently, you would have to use some kind of third-party tool or do this manually or sync somehow. But roster import is going to make it much, much easier to manage your student role, your roster, as it were, within Google Classroom and automatically populate those classrooms.
Yeah. So really interesting. This is available. If you look at the bottom left of the screen, you'll see which version this is. This is Education Plus. So this is only available in Education Plus, the premium version. By the way, if you had G Suite Enterprise for Education in the past, or you heard about it, Education Plus is basically the same. It's all the features.
Yeah, just to add on about, just back to the roster import, I think there's a few more details to come out about that. But Clever, I think a lot of schools, especially in the US, are very, very familiar with Clever already.
Yeah. And it's coming in the coming weeks as well. So this is something which we hope is going to be here in the summer, sometime in July or early August. I think July, it's likely to come out. So scheduling assignments to multiple classes. This is in the free version. James, anything to say about this?
Yeah, I think people read this and think, well, you can already do that. Yes, you can assign to multiple classes at one time, but the scheduling here is really important. Whenever you assign to multiple classes currently, it will add it to every single class and students see the work at the same time. Now with scheduling, of course, you could have class A could get it at 8 o'clock, class B could get it at 9 o'clock, class C, and so on and so on. It's just going to make it a better feature.
Scheduling's huge. Classroom add-ons. This is another big one. This is coming to Education Plus later in the year, so sometime in 2021. James, what do you think about this?
Well, we talked about this a few weeks ago, Dan, and we talked about Adobe Spark and iXL and Kahoot, but now we can see there's a lot more add-ons coming. We can see CK12 is there, Edpuzzle, and a few more. Yeah, I think this is going to be very big just because it makes the whole process of adding work to Classroom much more streamlined and much easier.
Yeah, and basically how this is going to work is within Classroom, you'll be able to get access to these add-ons. So there's kind of an example here where someone goes into some classwork, they click on create, and then they get to drop down from a list of any third-party add-ons. So like I said, we haven't seen this live. All we've seen, like here, for example, the person selected the add-on. No one's seen this yet, but you can select the add-ons from within Classroom. So again, it looks like this. The school would have to have an account with Kahoot or whatever. But then once you have it, you can link it into your Classroom.
Yeah, exactly. And it just makes that process easier. You can use Kahoot outside of Classroom. You can copy the link to Classroom. But doing it this way is just going to make it so much easier and save a lot of time.
Exactly. Cool. So get on to the next one. Measuring student engagement and activity. So looking when students were last active, when they last participated. Gives you more access, I think, James, to keep an overview of all the students and making sure that you're monitoring all of them and everyone is keeping up with the work, etc. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, right now, of course, you can use a gradebook to see if assignments have been submitted, but I think this is going to really increase the analytics that teachers have access to, which is really good because just saying whether an assignment is submitted or not is not really enough to keep a tab on the class. The engagement through comments, I think, is going to be a lot more data that teachers can use to understand how students are engaging in their classrooms.
Yeah. So offline, now there already was a Classroom, or it is a Classroom app, but what for Android and iOS? But James, what are we getting new here?
Yeah, and I think this probably passed a few people by. The Android offline version, everybody's saying, well, that exists already. Yeah, it doesn't. The Android offline version is really for those schools, those teachers that maybe don't have access to laptops or iPads and so on, and they're working from home or they're working remotely wherever they may be, and they're just using their phone to connect. Now, sometimes if you're in those environments, you're not going to have a solid internet connection. For example, last year, we ran some webinars in Hong Kong, and a number of the Chinese-speaking Hong Kong teachers said that they can't always get a very solid data connection at home, which was surprising, but they're all using their phones to connect. And it's obviously not just going to be restricted to Asia, but you can imagine anywhere in the world where you have difficulty connecting. Android is the widest used OS. I mean, everybody sees iPhones, but Android is everywhere across Asia. And so I think the offline
phone right now.
Yeah, I think it's just going to increase usage of Classroom. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Offline is very, very important for a lot of people still.
Exactly. Especially, again, some people with some people in countries or areas with kind of patchy internet. This is really good. So Google Meet. Meet, obviously, there's the Zoom competitor from Google. It's got a huge makeover in the COVID times. I find it, I mean, James, we're on Meet every day, and I can say for sure that it's become a way better product, during the last year, but there's a lot more coming as well.
Yeah, I think it's important to mention here, if you haven't looked at Meet for a couple of years, it is a different product now. They've just rolled out, we'll talk about some of the features in a moment, but the number of changes that have happened in the last 12 months and which are going to continue to happen are really going to change the Meet experience.
Yeah, and I know a lot of schools, and you do as well, who are using Google Workspace, but they're still using Zoom. And I think that's because just what you said, they think about the old Meet when it was a bit clunky. And now I'd say definitely come back to it, because I think you can easily, I think it's up there with Zoom. James, you just did a comparison of, we helped Google with a comparison for Meet against Zoom. And really there's a lot of features that really stuck up well now.
I think the thing with Meet, the biggest standout is the integration that Meet has with every other product in Workspace.
For sure. And that's actually going to get better. We're going to get into that, some extra ones. So multiple moderators, James.
Yeah, so if you've got several teachers within a classroom, you have your subject teacher and then a co-teacher, whoever enters the lobby for a call first gets the moderation controls, the host controls. For example, removing people and muting people.
Yep.
Now what's going to happen is that any teacher who comes into the call will have all of those controls. So if you have a big classroom with 30 students, you may have a teacher, teacher's assistant, maybe somebody helping out with an individual student, and they all want to have the same controls in the Meet.
Yeah, this is on the free version, Education Fundamentals, and coming very soon. So hand-raising improvement. This is not a huge one. And we looked at this in the beginning and we weren't even sure what it was, James. But then we figured out there's actually some really new and interesting changes here.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, actually, because what happens now, when somebody puts their hand up in a Meet, you get there's a little sound notification and you can see the little icon. But what it's going to do now is going to show the people with their hands up. But once they have spoken, once they've asked their question or made their comment, Google Meet is going to automatically lower their hand, which is pretty cool. That's a really cool feature.
Yeah, it's a small one, but a great one. And again, in the free version. Multiple pinning. So this is interesting. You can basically choose who you want to focus on.
Exactly. Again, this is good for big Google Meets, 20, 30, 50 people in a Google Meet. If you want to keep your eyes on the presenter, perhaps, and a teacher, another student, your group, maybe, you can just pin them to the screen and see them. I think this would be really good if students are struggling with language and they want to see the presenter's face and partially read their lips and so on. I can see this being a really great feature.
Definitely. So live translated captions. So this can actually do a live stream and translate as you go.
Well, I think the future is here on this one, Dan. I think this is fantastic.
Living in the future.
You can already see live captions in English, of course, but now they're going to be translated. So you can, I think it's going to be 4 languages supported. I think it's Spanish, Portuguese, French. I forget the final language. But yeah, it looks really, really interesting. Haven't seen it yet. I want to try it out. I have to connect somebody who's in Spain to try this out later on this year. Yeah,
and what I've heard is there's a lot more languages coming this year before the end of the year. So there'll be a few initial ones. Obviously, Google's using the engine from Google Translate, which is pretty much it covers every language. This is on Education Plus and Teaching and Learning Upgrade. So any of the premium versions for teaching and learning, this is included.
I think it's important to mention with this one. I mean, this really maybe is not about teaching. I mean, it obviously can be about teaching, but if you consider connecting with parents. Anywhere in the world, we have students from a variety of backgrounds, of course, and maybe we want to connect with their parents. And it's not always possible to do that with our native language. So I think this is going to be great.
This could be fantastic. Yeah, exactly. Public live streaming, something people have been asking for. This has been a kind of one of the things people said that Zoom has and Teams has and Meet doesn't.
Yeah, I think we saw the Meet graduation events last year, these streamed events. Yeah, I think it's just going to make it much easier for the school to host events.
Yeah. And again, this is available on the 2 premium versions, so Teaching and Learning Upgrade and Education Plus. Some safety controls on mobile. Now, James, you were saying before this that mobile is interesting, especially in Asia, where a lot of teachers actually will be presenting in lockdown times from mobile.
Yeah, definitely in Asia, and probably a number of countries around the world, people are using their mobile phones a lot, and especially to present from. You'd be surprised how many teachers are clicking through a presentation on mobile. Well, now they have all of these controls, so they can take care. If a student isn't muted, they can mute a student. They can end for everybody. All of those controls come to mobile. Is pretty useful.
Yeah. So video lock, another Meet feature, turn off everyone's video at once. And this again is in the free version. So this is for everybody. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but I think it is good because video can be a distraction,
Yeah, not much to add to that. Yeah, I was just thinking, this is down to focus time, right? Students or people in a meeting, they're doing something, turn those cameras off and just get down to work.
Yeah, just a side point, but I've got used to video chat and I've accepted it's part of life and I have to do it all the time, but I prefer audio chat, honestly. I love just a good audio chat. Breakout rooms. So breakout rooms, this is where, the teacher can create multiple breakout rooms, students can go into discussion groups, etc. It's already there. It's only in the premium version, so Education Plus and Teaching and Learning Upgrade. But James, there's a few improvements now to safety in these rooms.
Yeah, so the breakout rooms, obviously they didn't have the same controls as the original meeting. So it's just syncing those up. That's what it's doing. So the controls on the main meeting and the breakout room would match. So there's less chance of anybody hacking into, no chance of anybody hacking into the breakout rooms.
Definitely. When you end the breakout rooms, it now forces everyone back into the main meeting, which is great. It doesn't just end the meeting and they're kicked out. They're now back in the meeting, in the main one.
Yeah, just streamlining that whole process.
Yeah. Admins can end meeting for all. This probably isn't too interesting for teachers, but any admins listening to this or watching this could be good. They can do this directly from the investigation tool.
Well, yeah, this investigation tool, again, is for the Education Standard, Education Plus versions. And very quickly, the investigation tool allows you much greater access to a lot of data that's happening in the background. Yeah. This, if you have a meeting that shouldn't be happening, or perhaps a meeting wasn't ended by mistake, maybe a teacher didn't end the meeting for everybody, then you could just go in there at the end of the day and shut all of those meetings down if any were left open. Yeah,
that's really good. So some announcements to Workspace. So this is what I think we're most excited about, James. You were saying before that you think this is kind of going to be a game changer in terms of how this all comes together.
Yeah, I do. I think this is fantastic. You remember how many years ago, 10, 12 years ago when Google Docs came out originally? Yep. It was the first time you could collaborate online, truly collaborate online. I see this as sort of the next big move to collaboration. You can see in the GIF here some of the things that you can do. We'll go through these. Yeah, but I think it's going to change how you collaborate online.
It's true. There's a whole generation of students now that have grown up just knowing how to collaborate on a doc. They don't know how we did it in the old days of emailing something back and getting the Word doc email back and the torture that was. But I think this is going to take it to the next level in terms of things like we're going to see about how you can have video chat within docs and things. So a lot of really interesting stuff. And the name for this, they call them a Smart Canvas, how the experience is.
Yeah, that's right. I think Smart Canvas brings together all of these features that we're going to look at in a moment.
Yeah. So Smart Chips, this is interesting. This is in the free version. You can put the @ sign in, James, and it'll bring up people to choose from.
Yeah, not just people. You can actually pick up Google Meets, calendar events you may have coming up, docs, sheets, slides, any Google Drive content you have. And so it's like commenting. Right now the workflow is we open a Google Meet, then we open a doc, we work together and we comment. But what this enables us to do is actually work in the document. Now, if you want to put another, link in right now, you have to copy the link from wherever it is and put it into the doc. But this is just going to make it so much easier to reference other work.
Definitely. So interactive checklist. We're going to fly through a few different things now. But there's basically, the big picture is there's a lot of really cool things coming to docs. Interactive checklists. Anything to add to that, James?
No, what checklist came to Google Sheets a couple of years ago. Yeah, great to have it in docs.
Templates for tables. This is good. Obviously, James, you're a big lover of tables. and this is going to make your life a little bit better, I think.
Thank you, Dan. Yeah, and I think it makes it easier, right? I think that's a voting table. I can't wait to check this out. I haven't seen this one yet.
Definitely. Now, this is something we thought that was really interesting, because obviously Google Education Fundamentals is always going to be free, but there's a bunch of features now that are just coming to Plus. So again, people, don't be too scared if you're using Fundamentals, but if you're thinking about Plus, there's a lot of features now, not just the straight teaching and learning, but that are good for everyone that are coming to Plus, and this is one of them.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there was another release recently in Docs talking about writing style as well, if it's formal or casual and so on. But yeah, this one, writing tips, this is very interesting because it talks about the specific language that you're using and reminding you to perhaps modify the language. It's very, very interesting.
Yeah, definitely. But it can be used for stylistic suggestions as well. So really broad tool. And again, coming this year, looking forward to seeing it. Assisted analysis, James, again, another one of your great skills in life.
Yeah, I mean, this is it sounds super nerd on this, but yeah, this is like the Explore tool on steroids, if I can say that. I'm not sure I can, but yeah, it's the Explore tool advanced. You can already do some of this, but what it's going to do is going to recognize your formulas in greater detail and just check that you got them correct. Sometimes if you enter a formula right now, it'll ask you if you want to autofill a column. But this is going to take this to the next level.
Definitely. Available again in Education Plus. So this is really cool. This is now live as well. I haven't had a chance to use this yet, James. I'm not sure if you have, but you can now present to Google Meet directly from within a doc, a sheet, or a slide.
Yeah, so rather than so you're in your Google Meet, you've got your 50 tabs open, and you're looking for that one tab with your doc in, and the little Meet selector, when you present your tab, it lists all of these docs. Very hard to find it. Well, this enables you to go to your doc and then just click the little present button there, and it'll bring up your document into the Google Meet.
Great. So, and again, there's a button. If you look right now to the top right of your doc, you'll see this kind of blue button with like a TV with an arrow in the middle of it, and that's where you do this from. Again, same thing. So Smart Canvas, again, it's kind of taking this to the next level. Google Docs and Drive has always been about collaboration, and now it's they're stepping it up, which is really, really cool to see.
Yeah, and I think we did mention all of those features, but the smart chips, the tables, all of that is a Smart Canvas.
Yeah, exactly. Smart Canvas is an all-encompassing term. Yeah. Also saving forms. Probably not too much to say about this. I've lost a few responses in the past, so I think this definitely would have helped me.
Yeah, this is great. I'm not so sure what we can mention about this because I do know it is under beta and NDA right now, but it is under testing. But if you imagine, if you give a test and there's 10 questions on the test, students get halfway through, their connection is interrupted, their device shuts down, suddenly all of the responses are lost. So yeah, fantastic.
Definitely. So Drive labels. This again is available in Education Plus and also Standard, which again, remember Standard is just the admin and security tools. Plus is teaching and learning plus admin and security. So anything to say about Drive labels?
Yeah, I think it's fairly self-explanatory. This is going to be for the perhaps sensitive data that you need to keep a track of, perhaps student data, medical data, any of kind of those records. There's, GDPR in the UK, you've got multiple, in Europe, I beg your pardon, not the UK. You've got the various data laws coming around the world. Here in Thailand, we have PDPA launching, I think, next year now. It's going to become more and more important to keep a track on your sensitive data and to be able to access it as well. I think it's going to make it easier for any kind of investigation.
Got it. And again, some extra things, some trust rules coming again to Plus and Standard.
Yeah, and we think about, it says district, if you're with a group of schools, a district, you can have your teachers sharing between the district, but students can only share within the school, and you can set those up.
Yeah. So we'll fly through this. There's a few announcements to Chrome OS, a bit kind of separate from the other ones. So let's just quickly talk about these. Some reports on device usage.
Yeah, and especially we're talking about like end of use, when the automatic updates are near expiry for your devices, it's just going to be much easier to see where you're at. Right now, you can use third-party tools to manage your Chromebooks and see those end of use dates. Well, now you can do it within the admin console.
Definitely. This is really cool. Pin logons for ADU users. No more passwords.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what can you say? If you've got shared devices, especially where the students are constantly logging in to get to their work, just got a PIN number that they can enter. Much, much better. Big improvement.
Yeah, this is a big improvement. Point scanning. I'm not sure if you've got anything to say about this.
Well, actually, we should maybe another time we'll get Seti to come in on this, because Seti's a special needs educator, and this is all about accessibility features. So it'd be interesting to Seti to come in and talk about this. But you can kind of see you need to select a point on the screen rather than having to use a mouse, which is difficult for a lot of people. It's difficult for me sometimes. But if you want to select a point on the screen, you got a slider where you move left and right, and then horizontally and then vertically. You can see that happening.
Exactly. And again, panning method to full screen magnifier. Keep the mouse centered and move around. So again, something quick, probably nothing to say about this. Some tutorials. Just search for ChromeVox tutorials. You'll see there's a whole bunch of new training content about using Chrome.
Yeah, and these are all of the audio tutorials. I'll talk you through it as well.
Yeah. So again, this is interesting. If you want to check the slide afterwards, we go through a few of the timeline of when things are coming. And that's really it. Quick one. Just to recap, if you're thinking about any of the premium versions, obviously, again, if you're not using Google yet, the first step you should always do as a school is register for Education Fundamentals. It's free. You have to have that before you upgrade. You have to be approved. If you want the teaching and learning upgrade, you can do that yourself, and you can just go to your admin control panel, and you can assign licenses to your teachers. And if you're interested in standard or plus, contact us. Contact any Google partner. We can enable it for you. You have to go via a partner. That's how Google set it up. And we can definitely help you. What we're offering as well to schools is a monthly call. We're starting our first one this month where we go through all the new features. We do a Q&A. We give a lot of extra support. So get in touch with us. Anything else to say as we conclude, James?
Yeah, I think it's important just to reiterate the Education Fundamentals is staying. Nothing is changing there. I think it's just the first time we've really seen, I mean, Enterprise was here last year, but with this new name, Education Plus, this is the first time that we're seeing a differentiation in products in terms of features that teachers have access to.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see that more and more over the next few years.
Great. Look, thank you for anyone watching. It's been great to talk. Thank you very much, James, for joining the call with me. I know it's quite late in Thailand. Thanks to everyone watching, and please let us know in the comments if you have any questions, anything you want us to look at again. We want to do a lot more of this content, and so please, if there's something you didn't like, something extra you want to know, please leave it in the comments, and we'll look at it for sure. We read every comment.
Thanks, Dan, and thanks, everyone.